Hey
Hey,
everybody, this is Jake Maxey, real estate agent here in Fort Wayne with Anthony Realtors. I'm joined by Dan Westrick. He's an insurance agent with Allstate Insurance. He's second generation family insurance. Started with his father in 1986. After graduating from Ball State, he joined the business in 2005. And recently in 2018, he took over the family business, and that includes both the Fort Wayne location and Warsaw. They've got a team of 10 licensed agents. All of them have different specialties, and their focus is to try to reduce risk and protect people's assets. So Dan, thanks for joining us.
for sure, man. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the goal today is to not only be informative, but we're going to try to help people save money today. So to kick it off, let's start with that. Obviously, with what's going on with coronavirus, people are looking for ways to tighten the belt. I know I got rid of Hulu. There was no live sports, so I figured I could just save the
Yeah,
money.
yes, that's
Um, yeah, so what are some ways people can save money right now with insurance?
yeah. That's a good question. I think it's very top of mind for everyone, and really kind of just the first thing is I think just reaching out to your agent, your agency, just having a conversation around, hey, what can I do if it hasn't, for some people, they avoid talking about this like they avoid going to the dentist. So, having just hey, let's look over things, if it's been a while, there's very likely some, maybe some discounts that you're not getting. Could be, maybe some deductibles. I've even had some people who are like, look, my wife and I are at home. We're going to be at home pretty much all summer. As we've kind of talked about it, even on, this is more on like the auto insurance side, but like, for one, it was, hey, we're going to suspend that vehicle. We're going to put it away. It'll still be covered as it sits, but it's not going anywhere. That's a good idea to say, hey, let's cut a little bit of excess there, because we need everything, because they might be without a job. They might really have some new burdens.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of piggyback off that, when I moved here to Fort Wayne, as you know, I'm insured through you, and we discovered that I was way underinsured. I hadn't had a conversation, really a lengthy one ever, with an insurance agent, but I hadn't even looked at my insurance in years. It was something where we were kind of just trying to pick the cheap option without really knowing what we were buying. And it's kind of embarrassing to admit that, but I met with you. I met with John Till with State Farm, another good guy, and you guys really walked me through what my options were. So I would recommend everyone does the same. At least pick up the phone and start with a phone call, and then you can kind of go
Absolutely. Yeah,
from there.
absolutely.
Okay.
And that's just being engaged, but I think that's also kind of a sign of, the kind of agency that you want to be with too. You want to find someone that is going to, consider big picture for you, make sure that, hey, stuff happens. We got to be able to protect you the right way.
Absolutely. So then if you are shopping around, let's say it's been a while, as for a lot of people, like they haven't looked at it in years, and they
Yeah.
say, you know what, I'm not just going to go with one person. I want to shop around. Like, what are some tips to, comparing agents? Like, what are some questions that we should ask?
Yeah, and I think that's an awesome question too, because I think one of the big things is, you know, uh, you kind of get what you pay for at times too. So, there's nothing wrong with the online companies, and, some of them are, they do a nice job. But I think a lot of times what gets missed is that one-on-one advice, because everybody, every situation is unique. And to me, if I'm shopping and I'm talking to, different folks, I'm interested in the one that is engaged in, my life specific. What is Dan's financial picture like? What is his, what are his assets? What are his, what could he stand to lose if something really took place? And that can be everything from, hey, do you have teenage drivers in the household? Do you have, looking at those liability limits that they carry, just really looking over that. To me, that's the sign first that, hey, this guy wants to actually protect me. And then really the next is just, I think for our team, it's hey, we want to try to maximize every possible discount that's available to you. So we're, if you're looking for a home, we usually will mention, hey, look, having your auto with your home is usually the biggest discount. Lots of different discounts. Every carrier has kind of some that are unique to them, but taking advantage as many as you can. And then from there, when you start to really break it down, then it becomes, let's engage on the coverage, because, you could cover everything in the world and still, something could happen. And, it's all trying to manage that risk, and try to just make sure that, hey, if something does happen, you're going to be you'll be in a good place to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, we've discussed this before, but I feel like our industries are very similar where, if you're going to list your house, you can do it with a discount brokerage online. Like there is a cheaper option out there for sure. But I recently sold a house for almost 40 grand over the Zillow estimate, Z estimate. And I mean, I shudder to think of what if they had just picked, an online discount. Yeah, they might have saved a little bit on commission, but they could have left 40 grand on the table if they had gone off that number. And I feel like it's very similar.
Yeah. And I really try to plant that in people's head that, hey, this is, I would rather you go somewhere else and have the right coverage than go with us and not have have enough, because that's scary. If you have, I don't know, the state minimum coverage and something happens, man, you're in a world of hurt. And engaging that with your agent, understanding how it works. And there are little calculators that you can do. You can plug in, hey, this is, what my house is worth. This is what kind of assets I have. This is what I have exposed or on the line every time I drive down the road, or, have someone in my backyard jumping on the trampoline, or, examples like that. So we want to talk that out and give them the appropriate responsible amount to protect them.
Perfect. So then I think the next segue would be, what are some common mistakes you see with insurance policy? Like, where do you see people leaving money on the table?
Yeah, well, the first is just like, I think I mentioned it a minute ago, is just taking the least expensive option. There's probably a reason it's the absolute least expensive option, and that's a really probably the first. I think finding a reputable carrier, finding your Allstates, your State Farms, and a lot of the regional independent agencies where they're very engaged with their clients. Those are great companies because they're, they typically they do the right thing at the time of claims. I know we're seeing just some cool, what I thought was pretty awesome out the gate with them. Like on the auto, for example, they have kind of credited or refunded people back premium, knowing that, hey, not as many people are on the road. And, that's something they don't have to do, but you're seeing a lot of the industry leaders are doing that, knowing that it's not just to, look good. I mean, it's the right thing to do. And that makes you proud to, represent a place and know that, you've got a good company behind you.
Definitely. And there's a reason I went with you, and I guess, so then kind of segueing and keeping it real estate focused, if talking about rental property, do I need to have an LLC? Is there special types of insurance I need? Where do you fit in the picture with rental property?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm very fortunate in my operation that Allstate, they're we call them landlord policies, rental policies. We're very, very competitive in that realm. Some carriers, it's not really their forte, their niche. So we see quite a bit of that. And, from there, an LLC is obviously a great way to protect yourself, liability wise. Usually I'd say the majority of folks, it's hey, I have an auto and a home and maybe a couple rental properties. That's a good time to really dig in on hey, look, these people, that are renting this place, if something happens, that can ultimately fall back on you. We need to talk about having ample liability. In many cases, that's the conversation of call them umbrella policies or excess liability policies. The whole idea that should you have a major situation arise, you have an excess $2 million to protect you should you be sued for you name it. And anymore, you can get sued for about anything. So
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of the sleep better at night, but the more you have, the more you have out there, the bigger exposure, and something as simple as an umbrella can be that safeguard for them, because they're, that's an investment for them. That's their, they're hoping probably, and they're getting obviously the residual income, but 15, 20 years down the line, they want to liquidate, retire, and having something really big happen in between there could really throw that trajectory off. Whereas, hey, if we have a really strong umbrella with good limits, it occurs, it's still not going to be fun, but it's not going to financially ruin you.
Yeah. And I feel like, as we just learned with this virus, like you can be humming along and everything's great. Yeah. And then it can be flipped on its ear. So I feel like that's even more of a time, not necessarily saying you need an umbrella because of Corona, but just more like you don't know what curveballs are going to come your way. Absolutely. And it's best to be prepared.
Amen. Yep. No, and trying to think of what else, I think then from the, on the rental side too, it's a lot of times it can be a little bit a la carte. So, some people are really looking at this, hey, I'm looking big picture. Should I have a fire or, a major loss? I need to make sure my investment's protected. So some people will take maybe even a $5,000 deductible, knowing, hey, I'm probably not going to turn in the wear and tear, little things that happen. But if this thing burns to the ground, I got to be able to, to protect that. And then, there are just the little things like you can have like burglary and vandalism coverage, kind of a la carte, more of a kind of a rider, but that can be different. If say I'm your son and you're renting your house to me, and do you really necessarily need like vandalism coverage? I don't know, depending on what you're like as a kid.
With you, maybe. Yeah. With you, I actually might need it.
For sure. But, in some cases, like, well, I probably won't need that because it's immediate family, or, I really trust the situation. Some, they don't know their tenant from anyone. And it's, hey, I don't know, they could, go nuts with this place, and I need to protect and have that kind of coverage. And I think just your standard package out there, that can, sometimes those aren't included. So again, having the conversation, going through the scenarios that could occur with your agent, that's how you can then prepare to, should they occur.
For sure. And I feel like, I tell people all the time when they own rental property, factor these things in on the purchase. Don't look at it as money you lost. Like, you should have already written off this money when you made the purchase and built it into your margins. Right. Just like a property manager. A lot of people think, well, I'll just manage it myself and save the money. And it's like, well, you're still spending the time on it. So you're going to pay someone else that money, or you're going to pay yourself that money, but that money is being spent. And I feel like insurance is the same way. Just build it into your margins when you make the purchase, and then go from there. So, absolutely. Well, Dan, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate your time today. I do want to say, so I'm going to start a new podcast here. You're my first guest local.
Awesome.
Yes. And I needed to go with the looks. I needed to bring in the big guns. So what is your favorite thing about Fort Wayne? That's how we'll leave it. What's your favorite thing about living in Fort Wayne?
Yeah, and I'll start that with I love Fort Wayne. I'm very proud, born and raised. Decided to obviously, live here, start, be in business, have a family, raise my kids. There's, obviously, from a financial sense, it's an incredible place to live from affordability. The ability to earn and save. The cost of living here is hard to beat. Yeah, really. Sure. It typically shows up, top 5 in the whole country. So that alone is, a good reason. Obviously, Midwest charm, and just, people, they have strong values, good morals. I've always felt, I have people, especially more in the insurance realm, but, they are coming here and kind of asking, hey, what to expect. And if they're coming from a California or a New York, it's kind of like, this is a place where people will, they're going to look you in the eye. They're going to shake your hand. They're going to help you if you're on the side of the road. And I've never been proved wrong about that when it comes to Fort Wayne. Yeah, and I'd say last, and I would say it's getting hip at Fort Wayne, which I'm the hip person anymore. But we got breweries, we've got the water, the riverfront. There's a lot of cool stuff that's
for sure
really come along, and it makes you proud. And again, not a hip person, is evident, but
you, man, you're looking super hip.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think people from the outside looking at Fort Wayne now with some of those things, it's hard to not go, hey, this is a great place. You don't have to be, on the coast and spend, an insane amount of money just to, rent an apartment. You can live really well here. That's was a long answer, sorry, but no, I think Fort Wayne's awesome.
No, that's exactly what we were looking for, and I feel the same way. That's part of what brought my wife and I back, for pretty much everything you just mentioned, like we talked about when we first got together. So, all right, well, how can people learn more about you? How can they contact you, or what's the best means for that?
Yeah, very. So obviously, email, phone. I'm sure if you put this up, I can throw an email and phone, but text, really whatever works. But my biggest thing is just, I try to be a resource for folks in all things insurance. I'd love it to be me that help. If it's not, I'd like to get you in the right direction, help advise you with who can help. But I'm available anytime.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And I think we proved that you're not just good looks today. You do have some brains in there. But I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right. See ya.
Jake.